You know that specific feeling when you're scrolling through social media on a Sunday evening and you see someone you went to college with posting from another international trip, and you're sitting there thinking about how you just declined happy hour invitations because you're trying to stay within budget this month? Maybe you've walked through your neighborhood and noticed the homes that seem to get bigger every year, the driveways filled with vehicles that cost more than your annual salary, and you start wondering what these people do for a living that you somehow missed during career day. Or perhaps you've attended a gathering where everyone's casually discussing their renovations, their investment properties, their children's private schools, and you're quietly calculating whether you can afford to split the appetizers. Here's what nobody tells you about the wealth you see around you. Most of it isn't wealth at all. It's an elaborate performance funded by debt, family money, and financial choices that would terrify you if you saw the actual numbers behind them. Understanding the difference between the appearance of wealth and actual wealth changes everything about how you evaluate your own financial progress and your life decisions. My name is Anderson, and I help people understand the gap between financial performance and financial reality. If you've ever felt behind because everyone around you seems to be affording things you can't figure out how to afford yourself, stay with me through this. Subscribe if this kind of honest perspective helps you see your situation more clearly. Now, when you think about the people around you who appear successful, what comes to mind? Do you assume they're earning substantially more than you? That they've made smarter career choices or have some knowledge about money that you're missing? That they're just better at this whole adult financial thing than you are? Or do you sometimes wonder if there's something you're not seeing, some explanation for how everyone seems to be living beyond what their jobs should realistically support? The reality is that what you're witnessing isn't success in most cases. It's financial theater, and the performers are often more stressed about money than you are. But because the performance is so convincing, you're comparing your genuine financial reality to their carefully constructed facade, and that comparison is destroying your confidence. Here's the contrarian truth that might initially surprise you. According to current census and economic data, the median home price in America hovers around $400,000. For a conventional mortgage with 20% down, that requires an $80,000 down payment, which most buyers don't have. So they're putting down 3 to 5% or sometimes even less, financing nearly the entire purchase. Run the mathematics on a $400,000 mortgage at current rates around 7%, and you're looking at approximately $2,600 monthly. Add property taxes, homeowners insurance, and HOA fees where applicable, and that payment easily climbs to $3,000 or more. For someone earning the median full-time income of roughly $60,000 yearly, that's $5,000 monthly before taxes. $3,000 of that going to housing represents 60% of gross income. Financial guidance suggests housing shouldn't exceed 30% of gross income, which for a $60,000 earner would be $1,500 monthly. These people aren't wealthy. They're what's called house poor. Every dollar is allocated before it arrives in their account, but the house represents just the foundation of this illusion. Let's discuss what's parked in those driveways, because vehicles might be the single most revealing indicator of financial reality versus financial appearance. A new vehicle announces success, but in 2025, the average new car payment in America exceeds $730 monthly. For trucks and SUVs, which dominate American roads, it often exceeds $1,000. 72-month loans have become standard, and some buyers are extending to 84 months. That's 7 years of payments on a depreciating asset. Let's say you're financing a $50,000 SUV, which is completely normal now. At 7% interest over 6 years, you're paying over $900 monthly. But that's just the beginning, because insurance on a new financed vehicle averages around $200 monthly, fuel costs another $200 if you're commuting regularly, and maintenance adds up even on new vehicles. You're easily at $1,300 monthly minimum just to own and operate that vehicle. For someone earning $60,000 yearly, $1,300 monthly represents over 25% of gross income. Combined with that $3,000 mortgage, you're at approximately $4,300 monthly in just housing and transportation. You've already exceeded your entire gross income before accounting for food, utilities, healthcare, or anything else. This is how people are affording their lifestyles. They're not affording them, they're financing the appearance of wealth while living in a state of permanent financial emergency. Now, you might be thinking that surely some people actually have accumulated wealth. What about net worth? Don't people build assets over time? Yes, but not nearly as much as appearances would suggest. The Federal Reserve releases comprehensive data on household wealth, and the numbers are staggering in how modest they actually are. For Americans under 35, the median net worth is approximately $39,000. That includes everything: home equity, retirement accounts, checking and savings balances. Most people in this age group have essentially nothing accumulated. For ages 35 to 44, median net worth climbs to roughly $135,000. But for homeowners, the majority of that is tied up in home equity, which you can't spend unless you sell the property or take on additional debt. Liquid net worth, the actual cash or investments you could access immediately, is often a fraction of that total. Even in the 45 to 54 age range, during peak earning years, median net worth sits around $247,000. The median household still has less than $250,000 in total assets. Half of Americans have less than that. Think about what that means. The Instagram lifestyle you're comparing yourself to is statistically built on leverage and debt, not accumulated wealth. Here's another dimension of this that nobody discusses openly. According to recent data, approximately 1/3 of adults aged 18 to 34 are living with their parents. Living at home eliminates rent and often eliminates groceries, utilities, and other basic expenses, freeing up enormous cash flow. If you're making $45,000 yearly and living with your parents, you might have $2,500 monthly in true disposable income. You can afford the luxury vehicle payment, the weekend trips, the designer purchases, the dining out. You look successful because you've eliminated your largest expense category entirely. Meanwhile, the person making $70,000 and paying their own housing costs has substantially less discretionary income than you do. The comparison becomes completely distorted because you're assuming someone is earning far more than you when they're just spending far less on essentials, or more accurately, not spending on essentials at all. Then there's what I call the invisible safety net. Survey data indicates that roughly 50% of parents with adult children provide them with some form of regular financial assistance, averaging nearly $1,500 monthly. Rent supplements, vehicle payments, insurance premiums, groceries, phone bills. So when you see someone in their late 20s driving a new luxury vehicle and living in an upscale apartment, there's a substantial probability that parental support is subsidizing a significant portion of that lifestyle, and you would never know it from external observation. Social media shows the vehicle and the apartment, not the monthly transfer from their parents' accounts. This creates what I call the phantom income effect, where you're comparing your complete financial reality against someone else's curated facade built on parental subsidies, debt accumulation, side income sources, or inheritance. The comparison is meaningless because the foundations are completely different. Let me tell you about someone I'll call Jennifer, because her experience illustrates how deceiving these appearances can be. Jennifer graduated college at 23 and immediately began posting about her exciting new life in a major city, nice apartment in a trendy neighborhood, regular dining out at popular restaurants, weekend trips to nearby cities, designer handbag purchases, concert tickets. From external observation, Jennifer appeared to be thriving financially. Her college friends, many of whom had moved back home or were living with roommates in modest apartments, felt increasingly behind as they watched Jennifer's lifestyle unfold on social media. What they didn't see was that Jennifer's parents were providing $1,800 monthly to supplement her $48,000 salary. They were covering her vehicle payment, her insurance, and contributing substantially to her rent. Jennifer was effectively living on a $70,000 income while appearing to thrive on $48,000. When Jennifer eventually mentioned this support casually at a reunion, her friends felt simultaneously relieved and frustrated. Relieved because the comparison that had been making them feel inadequate was revealed as false. Frustrated because they'd been judging their own progress against an illusion for years. Jennifer's situation isn't unusual. It's increasingly common, but it's invisible unless people choose to disclose it, which they rarely do. This creates systematic misperception about what's financially normal or achievable at various income levels. Let's discuss investing for a moment, because that's another area where perception and reality diverge dramatically. It feels like everyone's investing and building wealth through compound growth, but according to current data, only about 62% of US adults own any stock at all. That means 38% have zero exposure to the stock market, no retirement account, no brokerage account, no index funds. Of the 62% who do invest, a large portion have relatively modest amounts. The median retirement account balance for Americans in their 30s is under $50,000. What you're experiencing is selection bias in action. The people who discuss investing are the people who invest. Those who don't aren't broadcasting that fact on social media. Even among higher earners, the data reveals concerning patterns. Research shows that nearly 1 in 4 people earning over $100,000 annually still live paycheck to paycheck because income and wealth are not synonymous. You can have a 6-figure salary and still be financially stressed if your expenses scale with your income growth. Humans are psychologically hardwired for social comparison, constantly evaluating success by comparing themselves to others. The problem is that in the modern world, your comparison group has expanded exponentially to include everyone on the internet across wildly different circumstances, income brackets, and life stages. There's also what psychologists call the reference group effect. If your social circle includes people who lease luxury vehicles and take international trips multiple times yearly, you'll feel financially inadequate even if you're objectively doing well, because your frame of reference is skewed toward unusually high spenders. Lifestyle creep operates insidiously because you start comparing yourself to progressively higher tiers of spenders as your income increases. You're never comparing to where you were, only to people who appear to be ahead of where you are now. Genuinely wealthy people, those who invest wisely and accumulate substantial assets, are far rarer than appearances suggest. Only about 9% of households earn over $200,000 yearly, and only about 1% earn over $500,000. Comparing yourself to the top fraction of a percent is like watching Olympic athletes and feeling inadequate that you can't match their performance. Side income streams also distort perceptions substantially. Approximately 45% of Americans have some form of supplemental income, perhaps an extra $2,000 or $3,000 monthly, that dramatically alters their spending capacity without being visible to observers. You see their lifestyle, not the evening and weekend work funding it. Furthermore, social media compresses time in ways that create false impressions. You see highlights accumulated over years, condensed into a timeline that makes it appear like constant luxury, when it actually represents carefully saved for experiences spread across long periods. Credit cards play an enormous role in this performance. The average American carries approximately $6,000 in credit card debt. It's entirely possible to fund a lifestyle that appears affluent by accumulating balances you can't actually afford to pay off. The appearance is identical to genuine wealth, but the financial reality is completely different, often desperate. If you're saving anything, staying out of high-interest debt, and investing even modest amounts consistently, you're ahead of a substantial portion of the population. Those quiet financial wins, hitting a savings milestone, paying off a loan, maxing out a retirement account contribution, these don't get posted on social media, But these are the behaviors that actually matter for long-term financial security. You have to become comfortable with the fact that you'll never have complete information about anyone else's finances, which is actually liberating once you accept it. You can stop trying to solve the puzzle of how everyone else is affording their lifestyle and focus instead on building your own financial foundation. Redefine what success actually means for you personally. Is it having 6 months of expenses saved, being completely debt-free, having the ability to leave a job you hate without financial panic? Stop chasing someone else's definition of success and start recognizing your own invisible wins. These moments don't generate social media engagement, but they compound over time into genuine financial security. The flashy elements, the new vehicle, the vacation photos, the home renovation, these are often visible markers of money leaving accounts, not accumulating in them. If you're constantly stressed about money but spending to maintain appearances, you're choosing the stress. Opting out of this performance, driving a paid-off 10-year-old vehicle instead of financing a new one for $700 monthly can free up over $1,000 monthly when you account for insurance and maintenance differences. Over 5 years, that's $60,000 plus investment returns. That's a substantial down payment or a career transition fund or a genuine emergency cushion. There's a massive difference between intentional spending on things that genuinely improve your life and reflexive spending to maintain an image for others. Everyone is making trade-offs. You see their vacation photos, not their credit card statement. You see their new vehicle, not their stress about the payment. You see their renovated home, not their home equity line of credit balance. The financial lives you're observing around you are mostly illusions constructed from debt, parental support, side income, and selective presentation. Real financial security is quiet. It doesn't announce itself, it doesn't require validation, it just accumulates steadily in the background while you live your life with decreasing financial anxiety. Stop attempting to compete with a mirage. The mathematics of wealth building are straightforward. Spend less than you earn, invest the difference consistently, avoid high-interest debt, and repeat that pattern over decades. Most of those people appearing successful aren't winning financially. They're performing, and the performance is expensive, exhausting, and ultimately hollow. The people who actually achieve financial security stopped caring what their neighbors drive and became comfortable looking average while building something substantial beneath the surface. Real wealth is waking up without financial anxiety. It's being able to leave a terrible job because you have options. It's not worrying about unexpected expenses because you have reserves. If you're on that path, even if progress feels slow or boring compared to what you see around you, you're already ahead of most people. Your future self, the version of you that's financially secure, that has genuine options, that can make decisions based on what you want rather than what you must do financially, that future self is grateful that you saw through the performance and stayed focused on building something real instead of competing with illusions.